Perfect. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate that. Hyder, you're the best, buddy. Um, but property managers absolutely suck. I know, a little disheveled today. I got to be honest. Last night's boot camp was awesome, but it was 3 hours again, which means it's like 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. And then for me, I then like I love talking that stuff and getting candid with my students and listening to them share their stories. And so it's always a blast in the boot camp. We have so much fun. I always say we're going to go an hour and then we go three, just because it's been awesome. But yeah, so what I wanted to talk to you guys about today is how bad and how just absolutely completely horrific a majority of property managers are. I know some property managers watch me. Good, learn something. And I know that there's some property managers, there's too many that don't watch me. And what's frankly horrific is the conversations that I have online with these people. There was one group that we were in, and this was this last week. I won't expose who the property manager is because it's actually a somewhat local property manager to me. They're not that far away, so they might have business where I am. And I want to out them more than anything. I really do, because I think that they're such hot garbage. But let's boil the ocean on this one, right? We're not going to get really too specific, but we're going to get more broad. So at its core, what are we paying a PM to do? What are you paying a PM to do? You're paying a PM to basically manage your business. That's basically what you're paying them to do. Interaction with the tenants, getting units rented, taking care of emergency calls, taking care of maintenance calls, making sure they're getting paid, making sure that they're basically, essentially, you've made them a money manager. That's basically what you've made them, which is why I don't use property managers, because I don't want anybody else managing my money but me, because I care more about my money than anybody else does. And so at its core, you're basically hiring an asset and money manager. Okay, so I just on the general premise of that, don't love it, obviously. The challenge that we have is that there's a number of people out there that will then hire a property manager. And the biggest issue is not having a property manager, but not understanding how to properly qualify them and, quite frankly, manage and monitor them. You have to manage and monitor your property managers. I would suggest there's 3 ways that you can actually better manage your property manager. The first one is absolutely 100%. You need to get some sort of access to a report or access to a portal where they have some sort of a system that allows you to see the updates as they're coming in. You know that you don't have to handle them, but what does that do? It keeps them honest, so you see how they're handling your business. How are they handling your tenants? How are they handling your asset? People do what's inspected, not what's expected. And down that vein, because people do what's inspected and not expected, if you are actually on that portal, the same one that they use to manage your tenants, number one, if they don't have a portal, off the list automatically. I want to see everything. I want to know everything that's going on in my business by how I run my business on my phone. That's what I want to see. Now, I happen to cut out the horrible PM because I can see it all in my system, right on my phone. However, we can put ourselves in a position where we can see exactly how they're managing those customers. What's really interesting to me, and I think something that everybody really needs to understand, if you will, is I'm going back and forth with a PM this last week. I didn't know they were a PM. I thought they were just another landlord. So we enter into a discourse. And the conversation went something like, well, if it's a Section 8 tenant and they just haven't paid their portion of $150, but it's $1,500 worth of rent, who cares? I care. I want my money. Does the property manager lose money when that tenant doesn't pay that $150 that they owe? Nope. They are misaligned with what our goals are. They're completely misaligned. How are they not caring? This is literally what this landlord said to me. She said, it's 150 bucks. Big deal. Yeah, it is a big deal because it shows them, it teaches the behavior that money's not important. Your responsibility isn't important. Of course it is. You need to A, pay your bill, Mr. Tenant, and B, hey, property manager, jerk face, I'm paying you to get that paid. So that's kind of down that vein. Now, I can understand that maybe I can help change some people's perspectives. Awesome. I can help change perspective. Fantastic. I hope to do that for landlords based on the experience that I have. Here's the problem that I have. When I challenged them on it, I actually looked up. I said, oh, wow, interesting. They're a property manager and they property manage a number of units, 70, 80 units. Yep. That's why I won't blow up this person's business because she sucks. She's horrible. The fact of the matter is that she then doubled down and said, you wait until it gets up to 3 or 4 months, basically is what she alluded to. What the hell? That is my money. Do you know the likelihood that that Section 8 tenant can make that right? They're on a limited income as it is. They're on a fixed income as it is in almost every case. And if they couldn't pay the 150 and they were getting away with it, I promise you, when it gets to 450 or 6, they ain't going to pay it then. And then you're going to have to evict them. And then you're going to go through the long, lengthy process of evicting a Section 8 tenant. And then does the property manager make any less money? Are they somehow not paying fees? No. You're paying them more fees because now they're spending more time managing that process. What is going on? What a garbage PM. So the first thing is we've covered that first rule, which is I want to be on the portal just like they are. I want to see the things that they're doing. I want to see how they're interacting with their customers or my customers, my tenants. I want to see how they're doing that because it's not directly correlated how much they get paid to the level of service they're providing. That's the first issue. Second issue, they are your asset and cash managers, just like what I talked about. The fact that somebody would say to a tenant that that's not due or that that's not a problem. If you're not on some sort of a portal, shame on you. And you should probably hire a different property manager. But number 2 is you need to be looking at your financials more astutely than you would if you were the ones managing them. Because again, you are entrusting a PM to manage your business. And that 150 bucks might not make a lot of difference to them because it doesn't impact their pay. If it's a $1,500 rent and it's $150, that's 10%, right? How many assets do you know now that make 10% net? There aren't many. There aren't many that those PMs hold because the PMs are taking more than half of your money. If you're making 15%, let's get crazy, and you're making 15% on your asset, that's your gross. Your net after you pay them is probably 7, maybe 8. Well, that 150 bucks you didn't get paid, it doesn't cost them anything. It just put you in the negative. It just made that property a loser. And for what reason? All you've done is create the opportunity to have a massive loss. Thousands of dollars, likely wiping out a year or 2 of revenue. This is what we're talking about, guys. And it's because of a bad PM. The bad PM says, I don't care about the 150 bucks. It's fine. We'll just try and catch it up when it's 300 or 450. Then it's worth chasing. That person's not going to be able to pay that back. I have never in my entire experience with Section 8 ever seen any tenant that stopped paying their portion ever get caught back up. Ever, never, ever, never. Never happened. Never happened. So why on God's green earth would we create the opportunity for them to then fall behind? And then when they fall behind, then not manage to getting it taken care of. If you're working with a good housing authority, they will likely help you with that. And I report it to the housing authority right away. And I say, hey, this person has not paid the rent. I just want to make sure you know that I'm serving papers. And they're like, oh, yeah, right away. If it's somebody that you can have a conversation with and they say, I'm so sorry, something happened, but I will pay it in 3 days, in 5 days. And then when they pay it in 3 or 5 days, okay, fine, no problem. No problem. But if I don't have it on this date, I am going to file paper. And then you must follow through. Now, here's the thing. In many cases, when your PM has to serve paper, do they get paid extra? Nope, it's part of their job. Sometimes they actually charge an administrative fee to do that service, which is crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy, especially when they're doing those bad behaviors that set you up for that issue in the first place. So what we talk about the first one is be on the portal, understand exactly what's going on, making sure that they're following and seeing the things that they're doing and that you're seeing those things in real time. Second thing is, it is your money. Make sure that they are managing your money the way that they should and that you are somehow understanding and keeping track of your money, because they are not directly, there's no true correlation there to what they get paid and the fact that a tenant might have not paid that piece. And then if you start adding late fees on top of that, I mean, come on, it's a slippery slope. Nothing is ever going to happen. And so the third best way to manage your property manager is be active. Actually manage them. You have the portal, you have the financial reports that you see, and then what do you need? You need to manage them. You need to be on the phone with them. If they sound like they're getting fatigued taking your phone call, do a better job. Not you, them. Do a better job. This is the stuff that people mess up. This is, quite frankly, why my course, even though I teach you how to self-manage, I teach you how to insource property management, I teach you how about construction and working with code officers. Guys, when I've left it, I have had some property managers in the past. I did. And they were awful. And they were, the inspector would show up and say, yeah, I was there to meet them, and they didn't show up. Guys, they need to be managed. And if they're not doing the job, you're paying them far too much money to do a bad job. So that's the whole reason I made my course the way that I did. I want you to be able to manage your properties yourself. At the worst case is teach you how to manage people that do construction and do this type of work of managing tenants. At least teach you what things should cost, what the process is, insourcing property management so you can do things a whole lot easier, cleaner, and faster. Set your PMs up for success. That's what I do in my course, where I say highly document your units. When you put that high level of documentation together and you're able to hand that to a property manager, it makes their job a whole lot easier, much less touch, and likely sets you up for the opportunity to drastically reduce their rate if you like them as a PM, because you've done so much of the work for them. And again, let's face it, what are you really paying them for? You're paying them to manage your business, and you're just becoming a CEO and you just oversee the overseers. Well, they better be reporting on a regular basis. You better see what's happening. And I'm not saying that you need to do this for 20 years, but until you find an amazing property manager where you actually have a process that fits what you're trying to do, you better be doing this. You better be doing this, because people do what's inspected, not what's expected. And if you want to hang on to more of your money and not have to have twice as many rentals as I have to make the same amount, think about that. You have to have twice as many rentals as I have to make the same amount of money because you're using a PM. I'd rather teach you the skills of how to insource property management and actually create a team so you can then truly understand the value of self-management and recognize that most PMs out there are absolute hot garbage. So that's my hot take. I'm ready for people to be offended in the group. And I don't mind. So we will jump into it right away. Let's see here. Jason Ray, thanks so much for the super chat. I will answer your question first. Brother Matt, yes, sir. New rental, 2 co-tenants applied, 660 credit. Good job. Other 520 credit active collections. Do you rent to them both on a lease, more security, shorter term? No on shorter term, no on more security, because in many states that's illegal. Just so you know, you have to check your state, but in my state, I can't charge more security because of their financial qualifications. I cannot, it's illegal. And active collections, no, nope. Not unless it's an active collection that's healthcare. If it's an active collection that's healthcare, those are completely different because those companies are working out some sort of a debt. If it's consumer debt, or if it's car debt, or if it's anything like that, absolutely not. Nope, because if they got into that trouble, making a rent payment is going to be that much worse. The only thing that you could potentially look at is, are they, renting a place right now that's $1,200 and then they're going to a place now that's $600 and you're part of that cost saving measure? Potentially. The problem is you can't get more of a security. In my state, you can't charge more than a month's rent for the security, and I can't charge last month's rent. So Jason, so for me in my state, that's what I've done. And hopefully that helps you. But yeah, for me, honestly, at a 520, unless they have multiples of the income and they're not truly just financially struggling, unless they have there's got to be some other thing there. There's got to be some other thing there, which is, it's got to be, I took somebody that had 8x the rents, but they were going through a divorce, and they could show me. They said, see, here was my credit score a year ago. My credit score a year ago was 760, and now it's 500 and something. But I have 8x the rents. Yes, my credit is off, but here's what it is. My credit was amazing, so everything we did was in my name. And in her case, ex-husband was the one who was managing the bills, but it was her credit and she was the breadwinner. But he would take on the responsibilities of financial management. First of all, that's the dumbest idea ever. If it's your credit score and you're the breadwinner, you should be the one at least involved. You certainly don't leave it to somebody that has bad credit and makes a lot less money than you. They, quite frankly, have not learned money lessons and life lessons. So I think that that's a big component of too. So I would strongly encourage you that you can dive deeper for that specific tenant. And if you find something like medical debt, if you find something like divorce, or something along those lines, I need to know the why. If both of them were sub 600, then the answer would be absolutely not. Nope. Just no, because no one can pay their bills there. But that one person, yes, they absolutely would be on the same lease. Joint and several liability. That's what it's called. What that means is you don't have to go after necessarily the person who did the thing or who didn't pay. You can go after either one of them because you can actually go after the one with the money. It's the same thing that other people do with landlords when they find out, oh, the tenant has this insurance policy. Well, we'll max that out, but we're also going to sue the landlord as well. If they have any shot to do that, they certainly try, because a lot of times they can try and wiggle in for 5 or 10K because the insurance company says, oh, this will cost us $10,000 to try it. We can write them a check for 5. That's too often what happens. And we'll start at the top. Corby Carter, good morning. Anna Kay, good morning. Amazing Lumberjack Landlord Bootcamp alumnuses. Good to have you guys. Hyder, good morning. Wealth Building Journey. Chester, excited to see you in the course, my friend. Excited to see you in the course. This is going to be awesome. Hyder caught me on being muted. Theta caught me on no sound. Laura, good morning, everybody. We knew she was the nice one. And we knew Hyder was the super helpful one. Is it me or Matt's on mute? Yes, I am. Great morning, Matt and everyone. Good morning, Richard. Hyder, thanks for the help. Julie Anderson, good morning, manly man. Thanks, Julie. Wealth building journey. People do what's inspected, now what's expected. Matt, the Lumberjack landlord. True. Paula Maggie. Good morning, Matt and everyone. Good morning, Paula. Victor Belarus. Hey, Matt. Hey, Victor. Good to have you here. Keith Hager. I'd like to be accountable to myself. Exactly. Guys, people think that when you have somebody else running your business, that all of a sudden that they're running their business and they know what they're doing and they're good at it. Wrong. There's no one that cares more about the result of that than you. Act like it. Trust, but verify. All nighter Hyder. That was really good quote. Thanks for putting it in the chat, Chester. Thank you, Hyder. What do you do for asset protection? Do you encapsulate every property in a separate LLC? I do not, because LLCs do not give you the encapsulation protection that you think they do. They just flat out don't. They actually don't. We actually have an attorney that when they are back from break, I'm sitting down with them and we are actually coming up with, she will spend an hour with my boot campers talking about the fallacies of what some landlords do that just make no difference. And so we'll cover all of those silly things because that LLC doesn't help you like you think it does. It just flat out doesn't. What it does do is it does drastically increase the cost of doing business, filing a separate tax return for the LLC, managing an LLC, having another bank account for the LLC, having more insurance for the LLC, and then it's more expensive. And then your debt, when you go to get debt, it's also more expensive. So LLCs, for me, not interested for me. All nighter Hyder. Thanks, Jason. Wealth building journey, Chester. I'm trying to stick to YBJ on YouTube. Yep. Wealth building journey, largely for motivational reasons. Love it. Exactly. It is a motivational thing, right? You're on your wealth building journey. Victor Belarus, do you deal with your tenants on behalf of your property management LLC? Do you let them know that you are the owner and why? Of course I let them know I'm the owner, because the bullshit stops with me. That's the way it goes. I used to not be really outgoing. That wasn't really my thing. I kind of like keeping to myself, doing my own thing. Loner, maybe. I have a small group of friends, close friends, very close friends. The kind that, go in the foxhole with you. I have a good group of those friends. And then I've got the next tier out of friendships. But yeah, I let them know it's mine. Absolutely. People that think that there's value in not being honest with them. What happens when you end up in court? When you end up in court, you know what that tenant's going to say? Yeah, he didn't even tell me he was a landlord. And the judge is going to go, why would you do that? Don't do it that way. I think that's horrible. I don't do it that way. I want them to know I own the decision and that I am telling them no, and here is my reason. And if they don't like it, tough. That's what the lease says. You're asking for an exception. I'm denying your exception. Period. End of story. So I absolutely tell them it's me. I don't act on behalf of my property management company. I am my property management company because I do all the work. And I can do a far better job than any property managing company I've ever seen. And I'm far more effective. I'm far more efficient, and I'm far more profitable. Eons past them. Eons. That's what's been the hardest thing for me, is to not launch a property management company, because we do it better than they do. Most property management companies, there's a lot of small ones out there. Most of them have nowhere near the number of units that we have, and they have multiple people managing it. That's a joke. I do this in my spare time. I have a W-2. I don't have a problem managing all of this. Does it mean that I spend a good amount of time on it when I'm doing projects? Yeah. But regular property management, not that much time. Not that much time. I might spend 8 to 10 hours a week on actual property management for 137 units and 400 tenants. But that's because we're also going through a transition of getting rid of a lot of inherited tenants that have not proven they can make the trip with us. Where I'm spending significantly more time is the fact that we have over $1 million of projects currently rolling right now. 300, a million. We won't count that one. There's another one I won't count. So 1.6 million or so worth of projects right now. So yeah. Good questions though, Victor. Good to have you here. Like the name LBL. Oh shit, I'm a landlord now. What? Yep. Thanks, Chester. Wealth building journey. Thanks for putting the link in there. That's my course. That's where we talk about that stuff. Robert Farinelli. Hello, Matt. Whenever I see that I will be offended in the title, I know this is going to be a good one. Yeah, I was literally last night I was thinking about it after boot camp. And I was like, what do I want to talk about tomorrow? And then I always like to think about it. What do I want to talk about tomorrow? And I just reflect on my week. What was my week like? What are things there that are lessons that will help others? You know, that way I can share with them my journey and they can decide, yeah, that's going to impact me, or no, that's not going to impact me. But that's what I like to be able to share. So if I can share that with you guys, that's the purpose of why I do what I do. Oh, interesting. Guys are working today. Anna K, based on my experience, I'd manage own for Section 8 units. I'd cut too much middleman PM to deal directly with housing authority. Yep. Yeah, Section 8 for sure. Guys, if you think about it, here's how Section 8 goes. Landlord, your PM, case manager's director, tenant. What? Me with tenant. Me with case manager. Tenant says something stupid. I contact the case manager. Tenant's having an issue with something. I contact the case manager. I have the conversation with the tenant, but I let them know. I send a follow-up email to the tenant. I send that same email to the case manager. That's how you fix problems quickly, very quickly. Because sometimes the case manager can see and they're like, oh, I better get involved in this. Yep, you better. Because if not, there's going to be a problem. Let's see. Invest to Wealth. Good morning. Hyder. Good morning. Again. Michael Diaz. Good morning. Frank Contreras. One of the tried and true. Boot camp in the boot camp last night. I was awesome, but man, it was long. Robert Fernelli. So this deal I spoke about last stream. Yep. The seller is acting very strange. They are aware of the low appraisal, but are pretending it does not exist. Last communication was that the oil was prorated, but but complete silence on low appraisal, even though they have known for 2 weeks. Have you seen this behavior before? She is losing $15 a day interest in back taxes. So her best move, would be to accept or cancel the contract. So her behavior is the worst move she can make. Yeah, but here's the thing. She's doing that because she already sucks, right? She's already back taxes. She's already losing money. People bury their head in the sand. They bury their head in the sand. They don't want to deal with it. Like it's going to go away. Problems get worse. Leave a leak unattended. Let me know how that goes. They only get worse. You're better off meeting the problem, getting through the problem, having come up with a solution, and mutually agree to tie it together or part ways. One of those two things has to happen. Has to. Rob, I'm greatly offended. Perfect. Just what I was going for. What are we talking about? We're talking about bad property managers. You missed it. It was good. It was really good. Question. How do you look at student loan debt? Good question. So how I look at student loan debt is just like it's any other debt. If it's been deferred, I'm not giving them a hit for it, right? If it's challenging. I look at it as an expense. It is an expense because they are supposed to be paying it. So if they're living life now and things are already tight and they have their loans in deferment, that's probably going to be a problem. It's probably going to be a problem. But that's when they're in deferment, they usually don't, it doesn't show in the credit score. When they are behind, then it shows. So that's where so if you see what that payment is, they'll have it in like asterisks or an asterisk or italicized. That's something like this, where it says like deferred or something like that. But I've seen people that are struggling to make it and they have their loans being deferred. They're $1,200 a month. Well, that's a problem. That's going to be a problem. So student loan debt, I just look at it just like any other debt. BuzzTune, good morning. Jason Ray, celebrant rent is 3,400. Rent is 3,400. Mine's 2,500. Jason Ray, I don't know what celebrant rent is. Help me understand that. I want to know what you're saying. Laura is definitely the nice one. I really enjoyed our meetup in Florida. Yeah, she's the nice one for sure. Well, hopefully I'll see a bunch of you guys out at the ORAD event in February. It'll be good to hang out with you guys. Salitha Berry. Hey, Salitha. Hey, good morning, Matt. I'm in escrow and will be taking your course soon. Salitha, congratulations. Salitha has been with me for over a year. Over a year we've been talking. So I am so excited for you. Congratulations, Salitha. I'm so excited to hear that. That's great news. Keith Hager, I encapsulate my properties with an umbrella policy. Keith, great advice. What we do is we make sure that we have good insurance on our properties. We actually select a high deductible, not advice, but that's what we do. We select a high deductible to keep our costs lower. So to a certain degree, we hedge our bet because we're looking for insurance to be there for catastrophic reasons. We are not looking for it to be there for smally, itsy bitsy reasons. And so for us, we look at it, and over the course of the last 5 years, we've saved about $250,000 in insurance in the last 5 years. So we don't stick that money away in the fund, but we have that money working for us as we're still investing in other assets. However, if something were to happen and I needed to come up with, I think we have $20,000 or $25,000 deductibles, we would pay a bunch of those deductibles, and hey, that's the way the mop flops. But we have it for true catastrophic insurance. The other piece of this is like what Keith said, which is an umbrella policy. Very often umbrella policies are not very expensive. So long as you have really good insurance on the front end. And when I say good, proper rates, I don't try and cheap out on the amount of insurance I have. What I do is I move the deductible up. So the likelihood that I'm going to call the insurance company is lower. They appreciate that. They know that. And then they usually actually have decent models for that. But yeah, then we have an umbrella on top of it, which is our best bet. Ironwood Workman. Hello, sir. Matt, I would love to show you the paperwork PMs are sending me. They have 8%, 10%, and 12% level and charge for everything, right? Guys, my course is the cheapest thing on the planet. It's less than 1 month of a PM. Placing your tenant. It's less than 1 month. It's less than 1 month. This is insane. That's why I priced it what I priced it for. It's because it's less than 1 month of getting your unit rented. That's how inexpensive my course is. I left it that way. And that's including the boot camp. Guys, there is so much you can learn there. So much you can learn. Any of the students that were in last night's boot camp, just tell me, was that absolutely action-packed for 3 hours? Did we not cover like 15 topics and you learn something on every single one of the topics? Tell me, maybe I'm wrong. Throw it in the chat. Let me know. The list is too long to type into chat. Yeah, no kidding. I've met with a bunch of PMs. I have met with a bunch of them. I think their model sucks. I think it's completely disassociated from reality. The problem is that they find lazy landlords. They find lazy landlords and they promise them the earth, moon, and stars. And then when they don't deliver, what does the property owner do about it? Not much, not enough. Ooh, that is cold. Thank God. There's my buddy Millennial Mike. What's up, buddy? You guys got to check out, if you guys aren't following him on, except for the freaking gym picks, Michael, damn it to hell with the gym picks. He just did a really cool unit. I thought it was really cool. We actually have a unit that we're going to do a 70s that we're probably going to keep. It's got shag carpet. It's got wallpaper on the walls. It's got a 70s kitchen, 70s appliances, and all still works. It was well maintained. I think we're going to turn that into something probably midterm. I don't know if that will lose its allure, but yeah, he just did an 80s themed 80s or 90s. No, 90s. Has to be 90s. A 90s themed Airbnb. It's got to be 90s. It's like I'm an 80s kid. Born in the 70s. Grew up in the 80s. I'm on module 3 and I can tell you it's well worth it. And bring a notebook. Awesome. Very cool. Thank you very much for that wealth building journey. I'm glad you find it worth it. And like I said, and then that's just the course. That's 9 hours, 9.5 hours. And then there's, at this rate, this boot camp, our first boot camp was like 24, 25 hours of 15 students and me, where everybody gets to ask their questions every week. And then this one is going to be over 30. This one's going to be over 30. I'm a little bit mortified about that. Got to buy another server to save all the data. It's crazy. James Welsh. Yeah, James Welsh. Yes, James Welsh. Matt, do you have an opinion about the BEAF investing strategy? Because cash flow is hard to find because of high prices and interest rates. Break even, appreciation focused. I hate it. There you go. There you have it. I hate it. I hate it. You can't guarantee appreciation, and you can't guarantee the rate of appreciation, and you can't guarantee overall appreciation. Can't guarantee those things. You can't. You can't. From 07 to 2012, assets on average dropped 28%. Okay. From 7 to 12. You better have been making money with people paying rent, because it costs money to evict people. And then you look at 2012 to 2018. In many cases, 12 to 18, another 6-year period, those asset values came back. Okay, sounds good. So you're dead money for 11 years. 11 years. And if you're not making cash flow, you're in trouble, because you will likely get to that end of that 10 or 11 years and you will have lost money on the asset. And it might take 11. The whole idea is, what if you have to sell? That's one of the things I rail against, with the stock market. If I retire at 65, who's to say that's in an up cycle or a down cycle? And if I have to start living off my money at 65, who's to say if I'm living off $3 million or $1 million? Who's to say? What if my expenses are already fixed at 65? I'm expecting X number of dollars a month, and that number goes down by half. Well, what am I supposed to do? Go back to work, change the way I'm living, sell the condo that I had? What am I supposed to do at that point? Change the the assisted living care facility I might be in? These are no options. I want far more control over my opportunity. And that comes from cash flow. That comes from creating cash flow with assets. If you're in too expensive of a market, you should be looking at either A, other markets, but B, more importantly, you should be looking at other asset types in that market. Other asset types are where it's at. If you're in a market that doesn't do it for single family homes, I'm looking at other asset types. For me, I don't love single families anyway. 6%, 8%, no thanks. No, thank you. I want to find markets that are inefficient, where an asset class that is far more resilient than a single family home, meaning from a rental perspective. I get it. Is it easier to sell a single family home than a triplex? Sometimes. In my market, there are 112 houses for sale. Do you know how many triples there are? 1. So is it harder to sell? That's what most people will tell you. Well, it's just easier to sell a single family. Really? Interesting. How many investors are trying to buy an asset, and how many people are trying to buy a home? I would be willing to bet you that the formula is there's far more investors trying to buy another asset than there are people trying to buy a single family home. Especially when it performs, when the asset performs and creates money. So yeah, for me, fair question, James. I appreciate you asking. Not interested at all in appreciation models. Don't care. That's going to blow a lot of investors up, those appreciation models. At James Wealth, act like you are in the 1980s with 16% rates. You will be a savage. There you go. Wealth building journey, to the point that Matt made a second ago. Robert Farnelli, risks don't age well. Exactly right. It's true. All Nighter Hider, you can ignore reality, but you cannot ignore the consequences of ignoring reality. Ayn Rand, very well stated, Hider. Ironwood Workman, LOL. Yes. Quote machines this morning. Nice. It's true. Well done. Direct link to Matt's course. Thanks for that. Robert Farnelli. Oh yeah. Today I'm going to be very forceful and send her a P&S with a lower price. And if that doesn't work, I'll go directly to her agency's office and slam it right on her desk. Gently place, gently place. Walk softly, carry a big stick. Wealth building journey. I love you're on it. I'm going to jump in a shower. Thanks, Hyder, for the info. Let's see. Ironwood Workman at Robert Farnelli. Be forceful, but be calm. Yes. Yep. This makes you a pro and look like a pro. What's really ironic, and I said this in my course last night, I actually have a time now where I get threatened a lot more with lawsuits when I'm arguing with tenants than I ever used to. And I think it's because let's not get crazy and say I've grown up. I'm gonna be going a little bit. And so I don't yell as much. And I really prefer to yell. It just makes me feel better. And I also kind of want to get my money's worth. But yeah, so I get threatened a lot more now with that calm thing. Ugh, not a huge fan, admittedly. Frank Contreras, boot camps have all been awesome. So glad we were able to join. Thank you. Awesome, Frank. Thank you very much. It's great having you and your lovely wife in our course. Happy to have you guys. Robert Farnelli, bad PMs is why I want to figure out how to use technology to automate tenant management to fix in my model. Go with a PM. I mean, go with a property management system, PMS. Go with a tenant management system, a TMS. Go with something. We're going to have something that I think we're going to have coming up for you guys. We've been in talks with a couple of vendors because I wanted to make sure that you guys have something that I trust. I've tried a lot of products and there's a lot of crap out there. And so I want to make sure that there's something out there for you guys. And so it's something I'm working on. I should have answers probably by the end of October with a good quality system. Corby Carter, they're getting 3 hours. I want a refund. Then again, I'd settle for another boot camp. Thanks, Corby. I appreciate it. That's funny. Let's see. Let's wealth building journey. Yep. On the boot camps, 4 related questions. Cool. How far along is the current one? We are in we just did week 7. So it's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Would it make sense to join the current one or wait till the next one? When's the next one? So makes sense to join the current one. We've had a number of people do that. It depends on where you are in your journey and what you're trying to do. In many cases, joining the current one can actually help you with where you're at because you can still ask some of the questions. We focus on what the course was for that week, but then after the first 20 minutes, 30 minutes or so, we're past all those questions. And then we're talking about group related questions. And the way that we do it is you can start in a boot camp and do the entire thing with your class, like a real boot camp, or you can basically do weeks, let's say 8 through 12 in this boot camp, and then you get 1 through 7 in the next. So I don't mind doing that. We used to not want to do that, but I don't want people having to wait because we're 12 weeks. That's 3 months because we don't take a weekend off. It's 3 months, but then I usually take 4 to 6 weeks. The reason that we have timed this boot camp the way that we time this boot camp is because we have Lumberjack number 4 coming. And so I want to be around for my wife for for 4 to 6 weeks while we're getting the whole family and the kids into a cycle. And then we'll do another boot camp. Harry had actually brought up a good point of how long I will do boot camps. I don't know. In all honesty, I don't know how long we'll do them. We are definitely raising the price. I don't know the timing on that. But we have to because there's so much time that goes into it. and the cost of editing all of the video, and making it available, and hosting it and all this other stuff. So, price will be going up. You can start now. We already have the next course. I have to check with, the course manager. But I believe that we've got, I think it's 11 or 12 out of 15. 11 or 12 out of 15 spots are already taken for the next one, which I believe will start. I believe that will start in January, because we usually won't start them around the holiday season. We want you guys spending time with your family. And the only way that I can do that is if I don't offer that and don't make myself available. Robert Fernelli, Onward Workman. Yeah, anger at a person in denial, I doubt will act well. Exactly. You're nailing it right there. Laura Samanigo, Matt and Hyder, thanks. I only show you guys my good side. That's good. When dealing with Section 8 tenant and PM didn't help, I emailed everyone. I mean, everyone on their website that got attention. See that? Love it. And see, here's the thing, Laura, to that end, you're now paying them to be managed. Oh, could you think of a worse way to spend capital? Time for a new PM, and you'll look for it. Harry Hanover, thanks again for boot camp, Matt. Oh, my pleasure, Harry. Hugely helpful. RE Rentbox doesn't seem easy to codify, potentially highly intuitive. Yep. Grateful to participate in codifying it. Please keep it up. Keep it behind a paywall. Yes, it will be behind a paywall. Well, not so much a paywall. We keep everything in the boot camps for that group in the boot camps. We want you to always be able, so long as you're a member in the course, we want you to always be able to access what we talked about in those boot camps. That's why it's not only the 9 or 9.5 hours of the course, it's also the 24 to 30 hours that we do in the boot camps. When you join, you get that, you get access to all that. But there's a lot of things there that, to Harry's point, we don't make public, we don't share. That stuff that's kept inside the course for very specific reasons. I want, and I want it for all the students there in the course, because we all share that. We all share that experience together, where we are a unit after that. And so the first boot camp, led by Landlord Odyssey and a number of those participants, Anna Kay and Corby, they have an ongoing call that they still meet and they still talk about, the things that we talk about. I try to make some of those events. I think I've made 2 out of 6 or 7. But I still try and make those events. I'm not obligated to, but I like to catch up with them and see how they're doing. But that's where we want that community there, people hearing each other learn, people hearing where each other's participating. And we've got landlords in there that aren't landlords. They're buying property. They haven't done it yet. They're buying. So they're in the same position as some people. And then we have others that have 40 units, 50 units, 60 units, 70 units, 80 units. I think 80 units was the highest for anybody in the boot camp. And that person saved the most because it followed through their organization. So yeah. I'm thinking about taking the boot camp again. Awesome. Yeah, we have a lot of return boot campers, and because the course is limited, because there's only 15 to 18 spots. The next one will probably be in January, I'm thinking. We just got to get through the end of the year and the new baby, because the new baby's due the end of October. So give my wife 6 to 8 weeks. We can do the holidays and the kids and get them on a schedule. And I also prepare for boot camps. So it's time. So it's just spending more time with my kids during their holiday break from school. That's the plan. But we are taking the reservations for the next boot camp. We are taking those because we make it available for people to sign up. And then once we hit that 15 to 18 mark, and we reach out to everybody and we figure out what time works for everybody. Usually there's 2 or 3 people that can't make that time. And we understand that. That's okay. We get it. And then that just means that they can be ready for the next boot camp, which they can get in, or they can make that time work. Or sometimes they only show up for a half hour and then they watch the rest of the recording because we timestamp all the videos. We try and make it pretty smart. All nighter, read the book Flash Boys and never want to invest in the stock markets. Yeah, I don't like stock market. If you're not on the inside, you're on the outside. And so I'm not on the inside. So I'm on the outside. Millennial Mike, 90s themed Airbnb in the Pacific Northwest, 30 seconds to the lake, hiking trails in the backyard, 45 minutes to Seattle, 30 to Tacoma, 45 to Mount Rainier. What? Why'd you make me just read your commercial, jerk face? That's all right. I'll send you the snippet. You can make that one of your ads. Millennial Mike's the best. Just use the same use the ad that I wrote for the other friends of yours that we wrote ads for, where they saw a 200% increase in traffic, and they had 7 times 700% increase in qualified tenants and got it rented. That's all I'm going to say. Got it rented literally within 7 days. That's all I'm saying. All Nighter Hider, that book talks about high frequency trading and how the institutions front run orders as they come in. Oh, absolutely. They're selling deal flow. Yeah, I know all about that, my man. Yeah, it's hairy. That's why Robinhood got in trouble, is because they were allegedly selling deal flow. I think it's not alleged anymore. And who they were selling it to. Again, that's just my understanding of it. I don't know if any of that factually happened, but I believe it did, just based on what I've read. James Welsh, first floor interior wall bubbling and exterior wall is stucco. Any advice on how to find the water problem? 2 stucco companies caulked and used Silane siloxane, but the bubbling comes back. This is first floor interior wall bubbling and exterior wall is stucco. Interior wall bubbling. I don't know that they're related. Often when you find bubbling, it is some sort of a chemical reaction or a bonding reaction. So I don't know. The bubbling comes back on the interior. What I would probably do is I would look at if it's just bubbling, like the James Welsh, is like the latex paint like bubbling up? Because I have a couple ideas. If the latex paint is bubbling up, there's a couple things you can do, believe it or not. Keith Hager, on your offers to buy, do you ask for sellers to pay closing costs? I used to pre 2020. Yes, I would try and negotiate in the deal, and I would just say, hey, we'd agree to a price, and they would say, okay, sure, that's fine. And then once we would agree to a price, then I would say, hey, I'm willing to pay this much more, but I want you to pay for closing costs. And then they'd be like, yeah, sure. So you can make that part of the negotiation, but if your real goal is to just not have to come to the table with nearly as much, then that's the way that you can do it. Because usually you can get up to 3.5% credit on something. So if you are really in there and you're really hard negotiating the deal and you want them to pay up to 3.5% of a credit, and that way it's then something that you mortgage, so you're showing up to the table with that much less, absolutely. If you just want to get the benefit of being on the upside of saying, hey, we've already agreed on a price, I just don't want to come to the table with that much more money, would you be willing to increase the price and then be willing to credit back closing costs? Most of them, for obvious reasons, will do that. So there's 2 approaches, but yes, I've done both. Rob, San Diego market has gone from silly to stupid. 3.2 average, 1 million at 8% compared to income of 4K rents. Yeah, Rob, that makes less than 0 cents. Yep. It's because I think that the reason why that dislocation happens, Rob, is because of cash. That's why most people don't know that. That's the reason that dislocation happens. If you are in an area where the rents don't make sense for the price of the home, it's often because that's a heavy cash market, number 1. Or number 2, it might be a high tax market. And what I mean by that is they might have never made sense. I'm pretty sure in San Diego they made sense because I still believe you have Prop 13 and I think that's a state thing. So when it sells, those taxes are fixed based on the price of the sale price. On that header, James, I think you need to weep screed at the bottom of your stucco to keep it out of contact with the soil. It's leaching, I think. Yeah, so he said the bubble's on the interior. So I think if it's exterior, I think it's that. I think it's what Hyder's saying. If it's interior and they think that there's some sort of like the outside wall stucco, and so somehow that's hurting the inside of the wall. If that were the case, it'd be the entire wall. So they could be isolated issues. But what Hyder said is what I would think it is if you're looking at if it's the outside stucco that's bubbling, there's something adherence there that's causing the issue. Millennial Mike, thanks for the super chat, buddy. Where are the likes on this video? I agree. Yeah, 25 likes. Man, that hurts. By the way, everyone should blow Zuber's channel up to make Matt the headline speaker. We missed him last November. Yes, I don't want to be the headline speaker. I'm good. No, thank you. I'm good. You don't need to blow up Mike's channel doing that, guys. But thanks, Mike. Hilarious. Freaking hilarious. Ironwood Workman. I like this Lumberjack landlord. You be the guinea pig with all the PM software, so we do not need to suffer. So Ironwood, 2 years ago, I evaluated 6 products. I evaluated 6 products 2 years ago. And we didn't evaluate them a little bit. We had multiple properties in each one of the products and managed. It was a pain in the ass and managed those properties for 6 months in those products. 2 quickly got thrown. The other 2 we threw more slowly. And then we were down to the last 2. And we found the one we like the most. It's been the easiest to work with our team. It's been the easiest to assign tasks, manage the properties, give people access based on their qualifications. It's been really awesome. It's been really, really good. I've really liked it. Door loop. I've really liked door loop. It's been a great journey. So I'm very happy with the performance. Doesn't mean that it doesn't mean I don't have a list of enhancement requests because I'm a software guy. So I'm like, listen, I literally said to them last week, hey, this one's like a pizza afternoon enhancement. Like, just please, like, just get me this enhancement. It's a really easy one. But to their credit, they took the call, they listened, and they logged a ticket. So at least if they're even only just pacifying me, it's 10,000 times better than the other 4 that we tossed. Not the one at the last minute, but the other 4 were pretty good. Julie Anderson, what day and time are your classes? Currently, they're 8 o'clock Eastern time on Sundays. So it's 5 o'clock Pacific West time. And we go for 2 to 3 hours. I'm not going to promise 3. We go for 2 to 3 hours. Even in the first boot camp, we went 2 hours every week. Sometimes we went 2.5. A couple months, I think we went 3. But we go that often. Yep, we go that often. All-nighter hider. Oh, inside wall bubbling. Maybe a vapor barrier. See, that's what I'm saying. There's something there that, but I think that it could be, so it could be related. It could be unrelated. It could be that you're getting, what's the word? Off-gassing. You could be getting off-gassing from the stucco and the materials that they used, and maybe that's a place where there isn't any insulation or there isn't a proper vapor barrier, and so it's actually, then looking for a way to pop out, and latex creates this it's latex. It's like a glove, and so that latex creates this layer, and so literally air, it's like if you've ever seen a leak with water, they will actually fill up the latex, and you'll see that big, huge bubble. There's just water sitting there because it literally is like, it's latex. It's literally a thin sheen of latex. So those bubbles pop up, then you have to pop them, let all the water leak out. Then you can cut out that bubble and then see how the sheetrock is, let it dry out, get some dehumidifiers in there, and then you can usually, repaint it. But yeah, my thought was it's either off gassing on that side or it's completely unrelated and it's just a spot on the inside of the house. So it could be either. It could be either. But yeah, that's what I think. I think that might be what happening. It could be some sort of an off gassing. It could be a lack of a vapor barrier. Like, we like to run our Roxol in the walls, and then we like to run plastic on top of it. So that's often what we do. Wealth building journey. Got a random question about comparative rental pricing. Okay. When comparing all in rents to rent only, would it make sense to get reasonable estimates of monthly utilities? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's something that you have to watch out for. So that's one of the things that I actually have in my rent box. In my rent box is whether or not utilities are included, because they're apples and oranges. You know, I saw a property that was like, I was looking at the rents and I was like, hot damn, $1,800 a month for a 2-bedroom in that market is ridiculous. Like we get $1,695, and that's with heat. No, that's with hot water included. And so I'm like, they're getting 18. How are they getting 18? And so then I look at it, their monthly expenses were $6,500 because it was all in. So the 1,800 is actually cheap, because if I were renting out those units, I'd be renting them for 16. And based on the number of units, their cost is about $500 a unit a month. So if they're at 18, they're actually only doing 13 on a market rent. That's bad. And somebody just bought that building for cash. Even worse. Even worse. Got a text message. Who is it? Who is it? We'll see if it's one of my workers. You got to check, make sure. Yes. Oh, it's one of my guys that used to work for me. Cool. He's looking for a place. He was a good worker. I was sad to lose him. Yeah, get an average, say maybe 10 or 20 of area rentals. Yeah. Yep. I mean, it's the challenge as always with getting that type of information is where are you going to get it? The only place you're going to get that is from the rental agent, because if a landlord is not including those utilities, they are not posting them in the ad. They aren't. I don't. Why would I? It has, and the reason is I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm trying to say the last tenant that was in there was out of work 24/7. They were home. They had young kids. And so they constantly had the heat cranked. Well, the next person that going in there is a couple that works full-time plus, and then they like to go away every other weekend. Their numbers are going to be nothing the same. And so I'm just honest with people and say, this was a scenario of who was there and what was there before. I don't know if you want to keep the place on 74 or 68, you know? So that's where that becomes a real issue, is trying to understand utilities. Is it really comes down to the human behavior. I've seen units where a tenant's utilities, heat, hot water, electric, were $180, $200 in the month in the wintertime. And then the very next tenant that moved in there was $450. It's $450 because she was home all the time and she had young kids and she had the heat cranked constantly. Every time anybody went in there to do any work, they were just like, Matt, it's like a sauna in there. I was like, I don't care. They're paying, not me. And then they moved because the utilities were too high. Well, they were too high because they're going to be high anywhere they go. Like, welcome to the cost of inflation. The fact that heating oil was 100% higher than it was the year before. My place wasn't the problem. Inflation was the problem. The rate of the cost was the problem. If she'd been there the year before, right? And that's where it matters, is there's too many variables to take into account. Too many variables. And you can't just go, well, based on the number of gallons. Well, because again, that might help you when you're trying to figure out, well, now it's $4 a gallon. Last year it was $2 a gallon. People don't go to that level even, where it's like, hey, last year it was $2, this year it's $4. And last year their bill was $1,000. So this year it's going to be $2,000 for me. They don't even go to that level. So then to drill down even more into then human behavior, pretty impossible, pretty hard. That's why very often on those units, I discount them. I mean, I don't pay attention to the numbers. You can if there's something included, but it's kind of tough. Again, it just ends you up in a bad spot, largely speaking. Dion, every time you hit the like button and Angel gets a swing, Dion, you're home today, aren't you, buddy? It's kind of been tough. I've been avoiding texting him because I don't want to wake him up. So I wait for him to respond and then I respond back. Wouldn't want to interrupt that nap time or Diablo 4. Lumberjack landlord, are you open to partnering on properties? Do you have anyone in your group partnering? So I'm not open to partnering on properties. I just don't need a partner. And I don't do properties that I need a partner on, if that makes sense. However, there are people in my course that I think would certainly partner. Because I think that there's some people that are far surpassed or are far past a normal real estate investor in skill, i.e. they're all in, they're obsessed, they're learning everything. They're going to know it cold. They're going to know a market cold. They're going to be truly a dominant force in their market. The only downside is that they're not financially in a position where they can pull the trigger on any deal. So yeah, I think there are definitely people like that in my course for sure. The wealth building journey. Area average all-in rents 1,500, monthly utilities 250 divided by 5 people. Yep, average rents less utilities 1,450. Yep, price at 70% of rents. 10-15 per rent per person. Yeah, okay. I was going to finish that thought. Thank you, Mike. Oh yeah, thanks for the super chat, Mike. Hold on, I'll read it real quick. Didn't see the headline part. Yeah, I know, right? I am obviously speaking at the event. Yeah. Yep. BuzzTune, buying down the rate. Is there a set cost per point of buy down? Trying to understand the details of it. Great question. It ranges. It ranges. And the reason that it ranges is because it depends on how badly the bank wants to buy business. I've seen somebody pay 4 points to get the rate down a point. I've seen somebody pay 3 points to get the rate down a point. So the cost of buying that point down, it really varies greatly. It depends completely on the lender. Yep, it depends completely on the lender. So that is the concept. There are some places that won't let you buy down a full point. They'll only let you buy down a half a point. And then for that half a point, they want 1.5 points. So it's all what the cost of buying that point down is. That's why it's so important to shop. My nose itches. Sorry. Millennium Mike, where's the likes on this video? By the way, everybody should blow up Zuber channel. Oh, he already said that. Sorry, I just got to it. My bad. Lumberjack, what finish do you use on your butcher block countertops? Epoxy. It's easy to repair. Yep. So every butcher block that we use, we don't do like the linseed oil and then the polyurethane and then all. No, Nope. We use food grade epoxy because it's nearly bulletproof. And if somebody screws it up, guess what you have to do? When they move out, you can literally torch, you can heat it up and swirl it, reapply it, and you're fine. Pretty cool. That's how you can take out heavy scratches. It's literally that easy. Laura San Diego. Matt, I have learned so much by listening to you. Thanks, Laura. Appreciate it. It helped me increase my confidence. My PM used to intimidate me with her script. I have 20 years of experience. Doesn't mean anything. You were doing it wrong for 20 years. The PM really that I had done my work. Good. Very good. I'm always happy to hear that. Wealth building journey. I will absolutely leave a comment for Zuber to read to make Matt a speaker. I'd have thought Zuber would have already asked Matt to speak at the event, though. Yes, I am speaking at the event. I am. Onward Workman, Millennial Mike. Thank you for the reminder. Most of the time, it is the first thing I do. Perfect. Wealth building journey. Whoops, misread. Didn't read the headline part. Yeah, yeah. I don't need the headline. I'm fine. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. It's okay. Steven. Lumberjack landlord, are you open to partnering on properties? Nope, I already read that. Sorry. Man, I must have hit the wrong button. Sorry, my bad, guys. Roman Provic, how about Hemlane? No. Evaluated it, didn't like it. I didn't like the product. The financials were weak. Some of the services they offer are kind of nichey and cool. But at the same time too, it's stuff that you can do yourself. Like if you were to take my course, you'd learn how to do all that stuff and not need a platform to do that. And it also excuses or creates a lazy investor For some, that might work. But I want people that have a ton of relationships. One of the things that we teach, we spent a half hour on it last night, is relationship, relationship, relationship. Guys, I get deals coming to me all the time from all these different avenues because I built relationships in the business. And I spent the first 10 years of my business thinking everybody was my competition, and I didn't spend time building any relationships. And then I started seeing other people growing faster than me. And I was like, why are they growing faster than me? Son of a. And then I found out why they were growing faster than me. It's because they were actually getting into deals. And I was like, how did you know about that deal? They're like, agent brought it to me. How'd you know about the deal? Oh, wholesaler brought it to me. I'm like, damn it. And so there were deals that I lost out on that I didn't even get a chance to buy because they didn't go MLS. So, and like, quite frankly, many of those deals are my best deals. Like, they're my best deals because you get the opportunity to do terms. You know, you get the opportunity to do terms like Millennial Mike's done on some of his Gary stuff, you know, like Cody and Christian have done on some of their large multifamily stuff. You know, you get to, what you really want, right, is the way that I look at it, at an opportunity to buy something is I look at that as at bats. It's shots, it's at bats, it's whatever correlation you want to make to the sports world, you know. So I'm a hockey guy, right? Wayne Gretzky famously said, you miss all the shots you don't take. People that shoot the puck have a higher aptitude, usually have a higher aptitude to score. It's mathematics. It's fairly simple. Now you're going to have people that are higher percentages, right? So let's say you get an MLS, but you're so locked in that you usually win those deals. You could be overpaying. It's possible. So I always like to look at it from the perspective of, I want as many at bats as I possibly can get. I want as many shots as I can possibly get. And so I can say no. Now, do I get everyone under contract and then try and, you know, wrestle the guy to the ground and make him lose, and it's a zero-sum game? No. You can shear them once, you can skin them once, you can shear them as many times as you want. I prefer the shearing method. I want the best opportunity that I can get, with the exception that I also want a shot at the next deal. So all of my people that I've ever bought a deal from, I've done multiple deals with them. Yep, it's that simple. And that's when you know you're doing it right. You know, I've bought multiple deals for them because they're just like, they literally tell the person, hey, listen, this guy's an investor. He's real. He's the real deal. If you guys can come to an agreement, he will follow through. He won't leave you at the altar, you know, wasting 60 days. And that's part of that reputation that you need to have in your market. Let's see. Ironwood, Stephen, what is your location and state? Stephen, I'm open to various states, but specifically with Section 8 in mind. Okay, Section 8, yeah. Section 8 depends on what your strategy is. I mean, again, we've all talked about it. It depends on the housing authority. There's some housing authorities that are awesome. There's some that are horrible. And there's some out there that get away with, because the market in their area is so depressed, that they're getting away with paying less than FMR. I've actually seen that. Not very often, but I have seen it. I'm working. Sorry for the typo. No problem. Demasta, how's the Las Vegas venture progressing? Thanks for asking. Been too busy to keep up with things. By the way, Section 8 leader in Nevada said you're crazy if you include utilities. Not wrong. I totally agree. Yep, totally agree. In Nevada, it's air conditioning, right? But they're usually more efficient because those houses, a majority of them, were built 70s and newer, a majority of them. The problem that you have here is that houses, a majority of them were built before 1980. They don't have the same rigorous energy envelope, if you will. That's what they call it when they look at doing what's called a blow door test, where they actually figure out how energy efficient your home is. The challenge that you have is here you can get a heat bill I've had heat bills that were $700 because the woman never left the house. She had it cranked on 74 degrees because she thinks the thermostat is like an accelerator. We had below zero temps. We had below zero temps for 2 weeks. You're not going to keep the house at 74. And if you leave the thing constantly running all the time, it's not good for the system, but layer up, because when I would walk in there, she'd be wearing a tank top. I'm like, layer up. Yeah, crazy. MJ. Hey, MJ. Hey there. Awesome boot camp last night. I agree. Any agenda for Vegas in February? No, I have no agenda. Nope. I leave that to Mike. Whatever Mike wants me to do, I'll happily do it. So, yep. I leave that up to Mike. I can kind of talk on anything. So, where does he find me the most valuable? That helps the most people in the group. Robert Fernley, when do you think it would be a good idea to use mini splits? Okay. Yep. Looking at backup quad with two beds. Currently shared oil heat. Landlord pays $8,000 in heat. No natural gas available. So I think what you'll find is that in most cases, you're going to use 2 head mini splits at least, which you're probably talking about $8,000 a piece installed is my guess, right around there. The challenge that you're still going to have is you have to get the below zero package, and they make the issue still remains. Unless it's a well insulated building, they have a tough time keeping up when it's below zero outside. They just do, unless it's a really well insulated building. And so that $8,000 a month or $8,000 a year that they pay in heat, totally get it. Yes, I would look to replace it. The problem is you're probably gonna have to stagger the approach because, like I said, you're probably looking at 40 or 50 grand. The idea would be if you can find a company that would do it for a reasonable price and finance it, and that the costs were less than $8,000 a year, that would make sense, because then you're actually paying off the systems instead of paying an oil bill that's never going to go away. That's stuff that I've structured in my property where I've said, you know what, carry the paper on it and I'll do it this way. Well, if the payment was $8,000 and now my payment annually is $500 a month, and so it's $6,000, I save $2,000 a year. But I can also pay down the principal of that debt. But usually, depending on what that debt's cost, what the cost of that debt is, it's making it a payment. If I can make it $500 a month or $600 a month instead of $8,000, that's a pretty good thing to be in. And then I don't have to worry about, them running out, except there is propane. They can still run out of propane since it's not natural gas. I see. Section 8 is not easy. Really need to know the business. It's true. Section 8 is not busy. You really need to know it. It's even more than that, though. You need to know it for that housing authority. I have 3 housing authorities that I work mostly with. One of them completely inept. One of them absolutely awesome. One of them middle of the road with a lousy inspector. And so I'm tired of getting his stupid lists. I'm like, nope, not fixing it. If that means they need to move, then they can move. Not fixing that. Because it's just like, they broke it. They can fix it. Unbelievable. Brett Beesbauer. Good morning. Late to the party. No kidding, Brett. Thanks a lot. 11:30 in the morning is our time. Jeez. Steven, Onward Workman. Ooh, I just rolled up too much. Golly, where'd I go? There we go. Onward Workman. Have a pretty good structure. Unfortunately, the people around me are just looking to throw in cash and not do work on setup. Yeah, that's always a problem. Steven, thanks for your response, Lumberjack. You're welcome. Happy to. Robert Fairnelly, 8,000 per year. Yeah, 8,000 per year. Also in that situation, how would you handle hot water? I think paying for one 80-gallon heat pump water heater would be the easiest to maintain versus 4 smaller ones. I disagree. I would actually put the 4, I would put them each on their own electrical panel, and I would make it electric. And I would make it because everyone's going to always bitch about the amount of water, because people take showers in the morning, or they take showers at night, and you're always going to run out of water with 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 bedrooms. 6 bedrooms in a day, you got a water heater. You're going to have days where you run out, especially if there's laundry in the house, dishwashers in the house, washing stuff, hot showers. Nope. So I would actually go 4 separate hot water heaters. I would go electric hot water heaters. And then you're probably getting out of each one of those at maybe $1,000 a piece. But more importantly is you move all of the expense of that onto their item, onto their panel. You have to give notice to do that, by the way, because you're adding a bill. So if it's in their lease that you pay for that, you have to pay for that. But then when you renegotiate the lease, then you can just say, hey, I'm not going to increase your rent. I'm just going to add that you're paying for hot water now. Dividend Dave, yo first. Close, so close. All night header. Aha, love that epoxy tip. You're welcome. Dave's here. We can start now. Not going in the Wayback Machine, guys. Laura Simony, Matt, I mean, my PM realized I'm doing the work and educating myself. Thank you. Oh, awesome. Good for you. Yeah, that's great. Hey, listen, there's nothing that makes your PM respect you more than when you can have a conversation with them on their level, or even give them a tip of how you want something done differently. Keith Hager, one of our 3 PMs charged to do maintenance at $30 an hour and pay their guys $15 an hour. Yeah. And you wonder why they're not the best, right? And that's the other thing too, is I get that they're in business. We will likely do the same thing when we're in business, but that's kind of to be expected. Like a plumber, when you carry that insurance and when you carry that risk and all that other stuff, right? That's why plumbers have to charge $125 an hour, and it's a skill. But if you hire a plumber, can you hire one at $60 an hour, $70 an hour? Yep. And so we would make profit off that, but we wouldn't make all that profit off of it. We would look at what our expenses are, and we would say, hey, to cover insurance and to cover the truck and to cover all of these things that we need to cover, at $100, we're okay. You know, at $100 an hour, we're okay. So that's where we want to be able to deliver those kind of discount services. Give me 1 second. Honest. Yes. She's funny. I'm asking her why she's not watching. This is one of the people that works for us. Yeah, good stuff. Basilio. Hey, Basilio, it's been a while. Hey, Matt, due to the increase in expenses, taxes, and insurance, I'm thinking about continuing my investment out of state at this point. What are your thoughts on this? Yeah, I mean, I think you're Florida, right? And so, yeah, that's a problem. It's not here. She said she's watching football. She's full of crap. It's 12:54. Football hasn't started yet. Yeah, I get it. If you're Florida, I get it. Like Florida, any coastal regions, like it's hard. Insurance is much more expensive. Anytime that you're figuring any of those deals, you got to do the numbers and make sure that it makes sense. But there's no way to, you know, as competition pulls out of any, this is what most people that don't understand free markets don't understand. I'm not saying that you're that. I'm saying that there's too many people that don't understand how free markets work. When the number of vendors in a market start pulling out, the pricing goes up because then they have a captive, people remaining have a captive audience, and they can very easily understand the pricing model of their competition. When there's 2, when there's 8 or 10, they can't. When there's 2, they easily can. I am planning to do my research to ensure I pick up the right market aligned with my goals. And of course that makes sense. Yeah, sure. Makes sense. Florida insurance. Yep. So I guess great is killing me here. Minimal to non-existent cash flow now. Yeah, yeah. Yep. Well, what ends up happening is that will push rents higher because everybody else is dealing with exactly the same thing. That will push rents higher, which means you likely will have pricing pressure to the upside in all likelihood. Make sure you follow Millennium Mike. He has great info. Yep. Yeah. Basilio follows him as well. But Gary, even though there were many people for a long time that wished it would fall in the ocean, it was too far away to fall in the ocean. I'm a tri-state location, have property in Montana as well. Not easy, but doable. Yeah, sure. Steven, Lumberjack. Course boot camp aside, are you available to do one-on-one calls just to go over some questions? So I do have consulting available, 3-hour block of time, because I need to know a lot if I'm going to really be helpful to you. So we do have those. We do have that stuff available. Called her out on it. She knows I'm right. I'm a workman. Just need to take it down to be, let's see, just need to take it down. Be show is over. So I do not get spam. Gotcha. What does below zero mean? Yeah, exactly, Rob. Exactly. It's chilly. It means chilly. That's what it means. And expensive. Usually it's expensive. Am I buying in Vegas? I am going to buy in Vegas. Yeah. Yep. I haven't found an amazing deal yet. Zuber got an amazing deal, but that's more than I want to spend on a second home. So he got an amazing deal. He did. He got a fantastic deal. And I'm patient. Like I don't have to like rush and buy one. You know, we've got 2 kids in school now. And so, you know, will that be a problem, you know, doing 2 months a year there? I don't know. 2 or 3 months a year there. So maybe. So I think so we're still shopping. I'd still like to buy something, make it easier to go out there. But I can maybe get that with what I want from an Airbnb. The question is will that become an issue there? Maybe buying a house on a share model, you know, and saying, hey, we all get, you know, kind of like a timeshare, except it's owned by, you know, 6 owners or whatever. That's an option. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways. I still want to buy something out there. So yeah, we'll kind of see. But I'm still shopping for sure. I'm looking in kind of 2 or 3 particular areas. I like where Mike bought. But that's more, it's less family there, more not family there. And that makes sense for him. He doesn't have young kids. So it of course makes sense. All right. Any last questions? We are almost at the 1 o'clock hour on the East Coast here, but I'll stick around for a couple more questions if you have any. And if you go to lumberjacklandlord.com, you'll see the 3 options of how you can spend time with me. My course and the boot camp, or people have hired me for just consulting because they're buying into assets. They're setting up a business plan for, you know, trying to buy a bunch of assets. And so I've done that and kind of work with them to understand, you know, their cash positions, their goals, how they want to do, what they want to do. And then I kind of help them set that up. So I've done that a number of times. Small little communities outside of Vegas or a great deal. So I want a great deal for sure. You're not going to get a great deal in Summerlin as an example. But I don't want to live in Summerlin. I want to live Summerlin adjacent. I want to live close to Summerlin because I like to use a lot of the things that Summerlin has. It's an amazingly run city. So I want to use things that Summerlin has, but I don't want all the rules that come with Summerlin. That's me. Jason Ray, who gets to sit at your table for Mike's event in the Vegas VIP room? Oh, I don't know. I mean, no idea. I have no idea if I'm being assigned seating. So I'm not sure. And the VIP table, I think, is that lunch and dinner. Yeah. Yep. It'll be interesting. I'm excited to do the event and meet everybody. I would work with, I think you should buy a house in Montana, Matt. No, I'm not buying in Montana. I love it here in New Hampshire. We've got a lot of the same stuff, but Montana is beautiful. The only thing that Montana has, I think, that New Hampshire doesn't have is you get even more snow than we do. But you can get a lot more acreage. That I do love. But I was looking at a piece of land that was 330 acres last week. So I mean, I don't know that I need much more than 330 anyway. No sales tax, you know. I know there's no sales tax here. Plus houses doubled in the last 10 years. Mine's almost tripled. I told you Montana's great, but New Hampshire's better. BuzzTune, watch Big Short after your recommendation was great. Do you have any criticism to the reality of that situation? They didn't find the prospectus laying on a table. So, I mean, that was a little bit Hollywood. Those guys a little bit knew about what they were doing. So if you watch the movie, you know that scene. It wasn't a wrong number. It wasn't a wrong number that Jared Bennett called that character. It wasn't a wrong number. I think everything else was pretty close. I think everything else was pretty close. I mean, it's Hollywood, but I think everything else is pretty close. Yeah. Hyder's gonna play musical chairs at the VIP dinner. That's fine, Hyder. I want to sit next to you anyway. Turkey. Of course I want to sit next to you. I'm excited that there's another guest. There's a couple of other guests there. So I've never met anybody. I've never met any of the group except for Mike and Dion. But there's a couple people that I believe are coming that I'm very excited to meet because we've been talking about collaboration for a long time. So yeah, I'm excited for the event. It'll be a lot of fun. Tim L, interested in a boot camp for kitchen rehab. Do I need to be in the current discussion group to access cabinet option? Nope. If you're in the boot camp, we give you access just because we put everything basically in the boot camp from a kitchen perspective, because we know it takes time. We know it takes time to do that. So, nope. If you want to get access to cabinet, you can sign up for the boot camp, and then that still gives you the boot camp pricing. Keith Hager, I'm going to enter stage door so I can get down front row. Yeah, nice. But think the bison and antelope. I know, it's true. I know. Trust me on the bison thing. I get it. My buddy spent 3 years getting a tag so he could get a bison. And then he had it mounted, and it's the most majestic beast ever. I think it's just so awesome. And that fur is awesome. That's awesome. It's just so cool. But yeah, that's why I love the state so much, is because it is a lot like New Hampshire. We get a lot of bobcats here. We get a lot of bobcats. That's our thing. Antelope we don't have. Bison we don't have, but we've got a lot of the other stuff. Cool. Awesome. You guys have an absolutely fantastic week. I'm gonna go up and spend some time with my kiddos, watch some football, play some games with my kids. We like to play board games. So I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic week. As I always say, we try and create great content for you. Please make sure you hit the like button on the way out. And you know what? Have an absolutely fantastically awesome week. And again, I believe I'll put some post or something on social media this week. I'm almost positive that 12 of the 15 to 18 seats are gone in the next boot camp. And again, you can join the boot camp existing, and then take, the last 4 weeks in this one, and the next 7 or 5 weeks in this one, and the next 7 in the other one. We're flexible. We want to just help you guys out where you are. And we want to make sure that we don't open the events too big. We really want to make sure that you guys are getting value out of theirs and get your opportunity to talk and ask your questions and get your problems solved. Like we boot camp and workshop a lot of the challenges that come up. So I'm looking forward to it. Master Coach University update on the cast iron plumbing on the triplex. Turns out that the 12K quote didn't include replacing pipe after the clean out inside a building. Now trying to convince the fam to just flush and see. Oh, that's brutal. I'm telling you, shop that quote. Guarantee you can save a ton of money. That number is absurd. There's no way it should be that high. But yeah, there's a contractor out there for everybody, and it's far too often it's not the price that it should be. And it's not to say that we shouldn't pay them for their work, but there are people that tell you that they're too busy in a way that they're not too busy based on the number that they gave you. I had somebody give me a number that I figured out the square footage of the last job that they did for me. And I was like, okay, this job should be $7,000. They came back with 9,500. I wrote him back. I said, is there anything different about this one than the last one? No, not really. Okay. I'll give you $7,500. It's like the quote was 9,500. I was like, or 9,400. It's like, no, 75. That's what I'll go to. Increased cost. Maybe it's gas, whatever. And he's like, okay, fine, but only for you. Come on, really? He tried to get me for $2,000 more. Okay, fine, but only for you. He could have done it for that number. I wasn't squeezing him, other than the fact that he had just done a job for me like that 3 months earlier for that price. It's no different. That's what my course will train you how to do, because you'll be able to pick, this job is like this job, and here's where it's different, and here's why this should cost that much more. That's what the course teaches. Guys, Dion, I'm so glad you're back, pal. Yeah, second quote was 18K. Yeah, that's absurd. Dion, glad you're back, buddy. Mike, Millennial Mike, thanks for hanging out. Hyder, thanks for hanging out. Excited to be at the event with you guys in the next few weeks. Hope you guys have a fantastic week, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care, everybody.